Pillow talk, pillow talk, pillow talk, yeah. Pillow talk, pillow talk, pillow talk, pillow talk.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Pillow Talk Lounge. We're your hosts. I'm James Green, and this is my lovely wife, Cynthia Green, and we just want to welcome you this morning.
Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing? We're happy to see you this morning. What's going on your side of the world, okay? So let us know where you're tuning in from and what you're doing today. Anybody doing anything exciting today? Now, this is going to be a casual day for us. I had something to do today, but my neighborhood book club got canceled. So I guess I'll be home all day. You gonna be home all day?
I'll probably be home
so
all day.
we'll probably be in all day. We were gonna go to James's godson's swim meet, but I don't think he's doing that anymore either. So we're just chilling today, and I'm excited about that. But what are you doing today? Where are you tuning in from, and what are you guys doing today?
You know, I was gonna say, as you know, this is a key part of the year because this is January. We're coming to the end of January, and like we always say, it's never too late to get the year started, especially in January. So today we want to talk about goal planning. You know, we want to talk about vision creating. You know, that's what we want to talk about to lead you into the year. So now's the time to pick up momentum since it's coming to the end of January, to pick up that momentum that'll carry you through the rest of the year. So
we're going to give you a few minutes. Go get your pen and paper because you're going to want to take some notes today because this is going to be good. And it's important, you guys. So two things. Go get your pen and paper and also hit the share button. Even if you're watching the replay, hit the share button because there are some couples out there who really need the information that we're sharing today. You know why? Because so many couples are in stagnant relationships, what I call lackluster relationships. There's no excitement going on. They're not having fun. They don't have any type of vision or goals for their marriage. Right. They don't even know what they're going to do next week, next month, less more next year or in the next 5 to 10 years. And we're going to help you with that today.
And I was going to say it's key because some couples don't know where they're going. You know, that's a key, you know, because when you first get married or when you enter into a relationship, you're like, all right, where do you expect us to be in the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? And some people have no clue. Some people don't plan for anything. Some people don't look toward the future, you know, and if you do look towards the future, you don't plan it. You know, you don't sit down and say, okay, how can we get to where we want to be? So what does that create? That creates a lot of times you're stagnant. You're not doing anything. You're not going anywhere. And that leads to I don't want to say a dull relationship, but it leads to a relationship or a marriage where
dull's a good word.
Where you start getting uninterested and you're like, you know what? I'm tired. I'm not doing anything. I'm not going anywhere. I don't see myself growing. And that's the key, is to grow, because you should be growing almost every day. You know, seeing something new, going somewhere, doing something, growing in some area of your life. And when that doesn't happen, then you start getting unhappy. You start getting frustrated. You start looking at yourself. You start doing some self-reflecting. And then it doesn't look good. So we want to help you today.
Right. So question number 1. If you and your spouse, do you and your spouse set goals? If you do, put a yes in the chat, and if you do not, put a no in the chat. Do you and your spouse currently set any type of goals or do any type of planning for the week, the month, the year, the next 5, 10, 20 years? Do you do it or have you done it?
And
put a yes or no.
And I know, baby, a lot of couples will say, oh, yeah, we set goals for next week, what we got going on next week or what we got going on next month, or even, you know, a vacation. Yeah, we set goals. One of our goals is to go on vacation during the summer or spring break or whatever the case may be. And you can say yes to that. But do you set goals for your marriage or relationship for the future goal settings? Do you do that?
Right.
That's just a question I have. I know Cynthia
said. It's the same question.
Right, but a lot of people will say yes.
Do you and your spouse, I just want to know, do they come together at all to discuss goals? Do you do any type of goal setting, vision planning, vision casting, they call it? What's the other word I want to use? Even planning. Do you and your spouse sit down? Some couples don't even plan things together. Like they don't have a plan for their future. They don't have anything. So let us know, yes or no. We're just curious to know, are you doing any of those things in your marriage? And so today we're going to help you with vision casting and goal planning. Now I know people say goal setting, but you can't just set a goal and forget it. You got to plan that goal. So we call it goal planning, okay? So let's just talk about vision casting first. And babe, you're real good talking about vision. So
Well,
vision is, what do you always say vision is?
All vision is purpose that you can see. So we believe that God put everyone together for a purpose, and it's discovering your purpose that'll help you have that vision. Because if you sit down and talk, to your spouse or to your mate, and you say, what are we doing? Why are we together? Then you maybe come to the realization that, God put us together for this reason. Well, here's why. I know a lot of people say, I'm meant to be a wife, or I'm meant to be a husband, or I'm meant to be a father, or I'm meant to be a mother, that sort of thing. And then you say, why were you meant to be that? And you think, well, because I know I have these qualities or I have these traits. So when you think of that as far as a marriage relationship, why are the two of you together? Because you have these qualities and you have these traits that may have brought you together. So now once you do that, you say, well, okay, so now we have a purpose as why we're together. We have these traits, we have these qualities. Here's why we're together. And here's the purpose for that. So when you look for that vision casting or vision planning, or what is vision, it's for the future, planning for the future. Why are you together? And what is your purpose of being together? And when you discover the purpose, and then when it comes to fruition, that's all vision is purpose that you can see. Just think for a minute, and I don't want to say all biblical, but just think of Moses for a minute. God said he would do two things, lead his people out of the hands of the Egyptians and lead them into a land flowing with milk and honey. So Moses' purpose was to lead the people out of the hands of the Egyptians. That was his purpose. So when that happened, when God gave that vision and that happened, that was the purpose. That was purpose that you could see. Him leading them out. That was the vision. And when it comes to fruition, that becomes purpose that you can see. Because now you can see him leading them out. It's those sort of things in your marriage, where you're going, what you want to do, where you want to be, that sort of thing. Come together and talk about it and have a vision. And then when it comes to fruition, all vision is that purpose that you can actually see.
And one of the reasons why we get so excited about this, or we get so actually, you know what they say, you can find your purpose and what you're supposed to do, not just by what excites you, but by the things that irritate you. So one of the things that really irritate James and I is when we hear about a couple breaking up. We know it's going to happen to somebody, but it really, really irritates us. And so in our conversations, talking with other couples, we learned that couples get married for all kinds of reasons. But they never think about their purpose for why they're getting married. What are you, the two of you, called to do as a couple in that marriage? Why did God join the two of you together? And it makes me think about someone I was just telling James I was reading about in the media that they just got a divorce. Is MC Light. Now I met MC Light maybe about 5, 6, 7 years ago. I went to a conference that she was a speaker at, and I had a chance to talk to her. But when she was on that stage, she was just glowing and smiling, and she could not stop talking about her new man that she was in love with. That was about 5 years ago, y'all. They've been married 3 years and just got a divorce for irreconcilable differences. Now that's what everybody uses for their reason for getting divorced. And James and I, we were talking like, what was the irreconcilable difference? Now I know that's not what we're talking about today, but I'm thinking like, did they even think about why they were getting married, or were they just in love? Mm-hmm. Did they talk about what they want to do with their future together as a couple, or were they just head over heels, not even paying attention to those types of things? Like, why did you get married to your spouse? I love that movie. I love the new TV series. I told James we were going to do a live talking about the TV series, Why Did I Get Married? Number 3. What's it called, babe? Part 3. I can't think of the tagline for it. But when you get married and you sit down and you talk to your spouse about the things you want to accomplish, the things you want to do together, talk about some goals that you have individually and as a couple. Because even when you talk about the individual ones, then you can see your spouse's passion, you can see their heart, you can see what they want in life, and you can be there to support them, and it won't be a surprise, and maybe there won't be such a battle, a tug and war, because she's trying to do this and I'm trying to do that. But you talk about it and you know that's their goal, and you can now like be each other's accountability partner, support each other, push each other. But you got to know a reason why you got married. Yes, being in love is a good thing. It's a positive thing. It's important, but it's not the thing. God don't put people together because they're in love. God puts you together, right? Isn't God the reason for marriage? Didn't he create it? He created it for a purpose, and it's not just to have children. He gives everybody a purpose. He told Adam and Eve to multiply and be fruitful and multiply. That wasn't just having children. They would have replenished the earth, multiply the earth, tend the garden, tend the animals, name the animals. He gave them purpose. He gave them things to do.
Right. And then when you look at it from this standpoint, what excites you or what are you passionate about, and find out what your mate is passionate about or excited about. And that's how you come together and say, well, here's what motivates me, or here's what drives me. Just think of some of the things that drive you. See, and that's why I go back to Cindy and I, because with Cindy and I, we do not like to see people getting divorced. So it drove us to start Marriage Built to Last, to help other couples so they don't get divorced, you know? And that's the thing. Have you gone to seek help? Have you talked to somebody instead of just walking away? Have you talked to somebody that really try to help you to see what your differences are, to see what them irreconcilable differences actually are?
Right.
And
we talked about that with MC Light.
Right.
Like, did they go to counseling either before they got married or while they were married when those differences came up? Because honestly, we're supposed to be different. Sorry,
right. And can you come to a common ground? So when you think of casting vision and seeing the future, what drives you and what drives your spouse? And when you have that conversation, you say, you know what? Trust me, they probably go together, and you could probably combine them and see what motivates the both of you for that vision.
Because when I think about what drives me and what drives James, what motivates both of us, like I know for me, what drives me and motivates me is people. Like I love people. I love talking to people. I love socializing, being around people. But that's not his thing. Now, when he gets around them, is he the life of the party? Absolutely. But would he prefer to stay home on the couch? Absolutely. Those are differences. And it couldn't be a problem in couples' marriage, because I've known couples break up because she want to go out and do things and go places and he doesn't. But at some point, one of you got to make a compromise. You got to stay home with him on the couch, and he got to go out with you sometimes.
And that's something that I always say, that sacrifice leads to success. So if you want to be successful, someone has to make a sacrifice. And just think of it for a minute. It doesn't always have to be the same person making that sacrifice. So if he makes a sacrifice for her, then she can make a sacrifice for him. So now that you're sacrificing to make sure you're successful, you're sacrificing for each other. And when you start sacrificing for each other, that's where the success comes in. Now you're doing the things that you're doing for each other, because it might make the other person happy. And shouldn't that drive you to make your spouse happy, and your spouse make you happy?
Happy spouse, happy house. I always tell James, it's not about happy wife, happy life. I don't think the wife is supposed to be the only one that's happy. What y'all think? Do y'all think the wife is the only one supposed to be happy in the marriage?
No, because if the husband was not happy, then he'll feel that I'm not happy and I want out.
Right.
So
there's a whole lot of things he can do if he's not happy.
So you both need to be happy. And for that, you may both need to make some sacrifices. And that's where a lot of that irreconcilable differences come in at. Sometimes one person doesn't want to give. One person doesn't want to sacrifice. I'm not doing that.
We're going to have to talk about that on the show.
And then when you have that in your mind, that mindset that I'm sorry, I'm just not going to do it, then the other person may get discouraged and be like, you know what, if you don't want to do it, then why am I in this? Why am I doing this for you? And you don't want to do that for me. So then they'll stop doing it for you. And now when you look at it, now you're stopped doing it for each other. And you see where that leads you.
in a bad spot. So you guys have a vision for your marriage. Now, when we do vision and goals parties every year, and we plan to do another one in early February. So you guys, we'll send the date out. We're going to tag a bunch of people. This month, we didn't tag a lot of people. We didn't even really advertise it, but it's something that we enjoy doing. And we really feel like couples need it. So we're going to do another one early February. But the thing is this, though. Think about what you value most in life, what your spouse values most in life, and create a vision for your marriage. Like, the things that you want to represent in the earth, what you want people to see your marriage as once you are no longer here on this earth. What's the legacy you're leaving for your family, or just the people around you? Because people always say people are watching you. They're watching your marriage or relationship. They're watching you. And so when you are not around, what are they saying about your marriage? So when you think about vision casting for your marriage, it's thinking about what you and your spouse stand on in your marriage. And couples love it when we do vision casting with them. When they really realize, man, this is what we were created to do. This is something that we should be doing. You know what, babe? I believe we're called to do missionary work. You know what, babe? Yeah, I believe we're to help others with their finances. Or, you know what? Real estate is something we both really enjoy. It helps us to start finding purpose, like James said, when they start casting vision for their marriage. And your vision can be for like this year, because we like to revisit our vision every year. So it could be for this year, or it could be just for your future period.
Because there's times when you may put something down that you have a vision for, and it may take more than a year. For example, you could have a vision to have, say, a single family home, and you may live in an apartment right now. But then when you set the planning stage of those goals, maybe your goals say is to have a single family home and you live in an apartment. Maybe the first step is to purchase a townhome before you get to that single family home. See, that's where the goal and the planning part comes in at. You have to start somewhere and strive to get to where you want to be. Just like if you say, well, I want to have a doctorate. So if you want to have a doctorate, maybe you already have a bachelor's, and the next step is to get your master's. Then you got to find a school.
But you don't need a master's to get a doctorate, y'all.
But then you have to say, all right, where am I going to go to school at? How am I going to get? How much it's going to cost? The financial part of it. That is all planning to reach a goal that you may have. So that's why it's always a key, because when you plan for your goals, you have to plan at where you're at and where you want to be. I remember that might have been last year. Everybody was talking about leveling up. Wasn't that it last year? Level up, going to the next level. And see, what I like to say is, it's not really leveling up. It's going from here to there. Here is where you are now, and there is where you want to be. And when you think of it as you're booking an airline ticket. You go online. You search for flights online. You put in where you are, and that's where you are now. And then where you want to be. That's your destination, where you want to be. And then you put the dates. How long do you want to take to get to this? What dates do you want to do this? Then you hit enter. And all this stuff works in the background. And people don't see that. They just see it comes up. Here are the flights. Here are the price. So when you look at it that way, you say, okay, here we are now. But where do we want to be? We want to be maybe a single family home. They don't see you saving to buy the townhome. They don't see you driving around to find lots. They don't see you finding a builder to build. They don't see you doing all that part. They just see you, wow, they were in an apartment or a townhome. Now they have a single family home. Right. Now they got a house. They didn't see all the work you put in.
That's true.
That's why that goal planning is so important, because it goes from where you are now to where you want to be, from here to there.
Hi, everybody.
Look at our little precious baby came and got in the picture. She's going out of town. Bye, Kat.
Bye.
Thank you for interrupting our broadcast. To give us some love.
See, she planned going from here to there. She's here now with us, and she's going there. Where's there? New York. So she planned it out. How long you been planning this?
Not lately, just lately. But at least she came up with a plan.
Right, she came up with a plan.
She knew what time.
She couldn't.
How long it's going to take.
She couldn't sleep till 1 in the afternoon.
Where she's going to stay. Yep. Normally she sleeps till 12, 1 o'clock, or sleep stays in her room until then. She's up and about early because she got a plan. She got somewhere to go.
So that's what it is about in your marriage, also planning
Mm-hmm.
where you are now and where you want to be from here to there. Because see, then I look at this. Okay, say you're here, right? And then you want to be there. Let me do the house again. You're in an apartment, right? You're here in the apartment. Now you're there. You're in a townhome. When you're in that townhome, that becomes here. And you still want to go there. That there may be a single family home. So you went from here to there, from the apartment to the townhome. Now you're going from here to there again, a townhome to a single family home. So that's why I don't say level up. I say it's like going from here to there.
Mm-hmm, but same thing.
But like we always say, if that's your goal, you have to have a plan of action.
So does anybody have a plan of action already written out for 2022? 2023? Does anybody have a plan
on where you want to be,
already written
what
out
you want to do
for 2023? Not in your head, but written out.
See,
if you do, put yes in the chat. If you don't, put not
and
yet.
I was gonna say, and that's,
I know you're going to do it. Bye,
all
Kat.
right,
Love you too.
I was gonna say that is the growth part, because we say you should always be growing. So if you're going from an apartment to a townhome, from a townhome to a single family, you're growing.
That's right.
You know, just like if you first get married and you're young, it's just the two of you. Then you may have some children. That's growth.
Yep.
You're growing. Your family's growing. Your family's expanding. So you need to expand. Just like if you have a say a sports car, right? It's a 2-seater. Mm-hmm. Now you got married. Now you're starting to have children. Don't you need to expand? Don't you need to grow? Get maybe a 4-seater, get maybe a minivan, whatever the case may be, cause you're growing.
So now James has moved into goal planning versus we were talking about vision casting.
But you got to remember,
I want to make one last comment.
But
it might not be that vision does lead to the goal.
Right.
But I want to make one last comment about vision casting. When you start thinking about casting a vision for your marriage, think about this. What action does God want to take through your marriage? You know, as Christians, we know that God has a purpose for us as Christians. He wants us to do something in the earth to help grow the kingdom.
Right.
And he wants us to grow as individuals. And people are always saying they don't know their purpose. People are always looking for their purpose. I honestly believe that's why a lot of people are doing crazy stuff, because they don't know their purpose. They have no purpose.
Right. So let's put it this way. Now I'm going to go with all you Bible scholars. The fishermen, right? Remember they were fishing and they weren't casting no fish. They weren't catching no fish.
Any fish.
And then Jesus came and said, let's go here and cast your nets. Mm-hmm. And when they cast their nets, what happened? That's the same thing we're talking about now. You have the vision of what you want. They had a vision of catching fish.
But they needed God's help.
They needed God's help. When he said, cast your nets in this area, they said, well, there's no fish in this area. And they cast their nets and they had an abundance of fish. Think of that as your marriage or relationship. What's your vision? And if you cast it, it may come in abundance. But you have to know where you're going. You have to know what your vision is to be able to cast your nets towards that vision.
Yes, that's so good, babe. That's so good. And so when finishing up the vision casting too, you want to create a legacy that inspires you, that inspires your family, that inspires other couples, that inspires generations to come. I mean, when we leave this earth, somebody's going to still be talking about you. Somebody's going to still be talking about what you did or didn't do, especially if you left a lasting impression, especially if you were made a global impact, especially if you were a public figure. I'm not talking about famous people either. Especially if you were using your creativity to encourage other people, inspire other people, motivate other people. People are going to remember that because of these digital things that we're doing. Is like this show we're doing this morning. It could be around forever. Right. So somebody is going to look at you and they're going to make a determination or a decision on the impression that you had on them based on the things that you've done while you were here.
And that's the key.
You can facilitate that, whether you're a public figure or don't do anything online.
Like you said, the impression you left, sometimes it's just talking to somebody and you can leave an impression.
That's right.
And you can motivate a person.
Oh. I can't remember who said this, but they said people might not remember what you said or what you did, but they will remember how you made them feel.
Yep.
How they made you, how you made them feel. So we want you to really start thinking about casting a vision for your marriage. And if you want to join our Vision and Goals party, just say me, and we'll send you the link to get registered.
And it made me think, baby, when we were in church one day, and I was talking to a gentleman who didn't really attend church, and he was going through some things. So we ended up just talking. And I told him my backstory, where I came from, how I was. And he said, wow, I would never know that seeing you now. Mm-hmm. So what that did was it left an impression on him, which I didn't know, because he ended up changing. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, wow. And when I saw him later, that's why
the guy said we're overcome by our testimony.
And I said, wow, I didn't know that. He said, that's because when you and I were talking and I told him my backstory, it left an impression on him and made him change, made him do some things differently to change his life. And I didn't realize I said anything. We were just talking, and I was just telling him my history. I didn't know it would have that type of impression. And that's the thing. You never know the impression a person will leave on you any kind of way.
Or that you'll leave on others.
Right, or you'll leave on others. Maybe just saying a word, seeing something you've done, that sort of thing. It could be anything. You never know.
So let's talk a little bit about why goal planning is important for couples.
Right.
One of my favorite things that I like about goal planning is that number one is, and James kind of mentioned this earlier, and I'll say it a little different though. It helps you to not become stagnant in your relationship. Mm-hmm. Actually, I said that. It gives you something to look forward to.
Because we know when you get married, it's that honeymoon stage and everything's all good. But then life happens. Maybe she gets pregnant, y'all have a child, you start going to work, you start paying bills, and everything becomes routine. And that routineness could lead to stagnation.
Even though you should have some routines in your marriage.
Right.
We talk about that too.
We talk about routine, right, and traditions.
But it helps your relationship not to be stagnant, just like dating does. It gets you out of those routines. And if you know you got a goal, something you want to work towards, it can make a difference. Like for me, I like having home projects. So I got like 4 home projects that I want to work on. And I haven't been working on any, but I need to write. I have written them down. And so I need to start working on one of those projects because it always keeps me moving forward, doing things to just enhance my home.
Right.
And so.
And for me, it's like, it helps with compatibility. Mm-hmm. That's one of my reasons for that goal planning, because
that's
now.
Number 2?
Yeah, I guess that's number 2.
Okay.
Compatibility, because now it'll let you work together. And it creates compatibility with companionship, because you're working on it. He's working on it. I'll do he and she. He's working on it. She's working on it, and y'all working toward a common goal. That goal you set, that plan. Because when you have a plan, everyone has to play their parts. Mm-hmm. All right, this is your part in getting us there. This is my part in getting us there. And it creates that companionship, that compatibility where you're working together,
and you get to hold each other accountable.
Right. That could be number 3. Hold each other accountable, because you can say, I did my part. Did you do your part? Because you can't reach that goal until you both do your parts. Because you can say, okay, I did my part. My part is finished. We're almost there. Babe, did you complete your part? Well, not yet. I'm almost there. When they complete their part, maybe you do reach that goal, because now you both did your part.
Right. And so number 3 is it improves your communication.
Oh my God. Because now you're talking about it.
Yeah. You're talking to each other about something that you have in common, something that you both might be excited about, or it could be a problem that you need to solve. But because you decide to work together to solve that problem, you're having better communication because you're on the same team, you're working towards the same goal, and you've come up with a plan to conquer that thing. See, it's when you don't talk about that problem to come up with a plan is when you start doing like this, drifting apart.
Yeah.
That's how them irreconcilable differences come up. But in order to do that, sit down and talk about the problem and come up with some steps that you can take to resolve it. But don't brush it under the rug. When you brush it under the rug, oh my God, that's when other things just flare up. Because let's talk about this for a second. When you got a problem and you want to fix it and your spouse has no interest in it, and they kind of just brush it under the rug, then you walk around with an attitude. You're walking around hurt. You're walking around discouraged. You're walking around in pain. But when you say, babe, we got this situation, we really need to sit down and talk about how we're going to fix it. And so you sit down and you come up with the plan. And then also, and that'll help hold you together when you have challenging times, and you can sit down and do what we call goal planning, because that's not setting a goal to solve the problem. You got to do some goal planning to solve that problem. But it helps you during challenging times to come together as one. Right. Because y'all, tragedy, circumstances, situations, negative things, troubles can really tear a couple apart if you don't conquer that.
And for me, here's the key, that it helps you to create a better you for your spouse.
That's good.
And that's what they want, because when you start working on this plan, to reach the goal, you're doing it so you both can be successful, so you both can be satisfied with reaching that goal. So it helps you create a better you, because now, just think for a minute, now your spouse looks at you like, wow, he or she is really trying in reaching this goal. And you'll look at them in a different light, like, wow, you didn't do that before. And now that we done set these goals and I see you working hard at it, that's creating a better you. And your spouse,
and then you start looking at your spouse, you're all proud of them.
Right. It makes you smile.
You're feeling good.
And it's like,
you're like, man, I didn't know she had that in her. I didn't know he had that in him.
That's my baby right there. We working together. It helps create a better you for your spouse.
That's good. And then last but not least, it gives you something to celebrate.
Yes, even a small thing.
Yeah, yes, we celebrate maybe our anniversary, our birthdays, Valentine's Day, which is coming up, Mother's Day, Father's Day. Those are great. But what about just celebrating the things that are happening in your personal life? Right.
Because you see, I can go back to the house again. You see, if a family moves from, say, or a couple moves from an apartment to a townhome, they're celebrating. You see them out front. We just purchased our home. You see them with the key, they jumping in the air, whatever, reason to celebrate. And you can even celebrate the small things. You can celebrate putting a down payment on it. You can celebrate that you went to settlement. You can celebrate that you found.
We did right through our process.
You can found that you found a lot. If you're going for a single family home and getting it built,
that was
then
so exciting.
You can celebrate as you drive by that lot each week and see the foundation laid, you see it and start building. Now you're celebrating because eventually you reach your goal and you're going to move in. But as you go along, it gives you a reason to celebrate the small thing. Oh my God.
That's enjoying the process. And that's another thing that's so key, y'all, when you're goal planning. Enjoy the process to getting to where you're trying to go. So many people are discouraged because they're in a situation right now that they don't know how to get out of, they don't know how to solve. And if you sit down and really pray about it, you write out some different scenarios. That's what we tell couples to do when they got a problem. You write down how you think you could solve it. You write down how you think you can solve it. Then come together and see how y'all can solve it together. And so when you can sit down and do that, things start to unravel. They start to looking brighter. Don't sit there and wallow in that situation. Goal planning is not just about getting things.
That's right.
It's not just about always just a physical thing is what I want to say, a physical structure. It could be just unraveling, solving a problem that you have. It could be a money problem. It could be that, one of you feel like you've got an illness and it's just kind of bringing you both down. What can you do to enjoy life through this illness, through this situation, through these troubles, through this problem?
And I was going to say that and that's the thing, opening up those lines of communication, because if you're happy in your marriage or your relationship and you see it may have taken a turn, you can sit down and say, well, what's wrong? And let them feelings come out, express it. Well, here's just an example. I'm not where I thought I would be, or we're not where I thought we would be, or I'm having this problem with this. Then you can say, okay, where should we be? Where would you like to be? What would you like to do? Now you're unraveling that. You're talking about, okay, here's where I expected to be, or here's where I expected what I was supposed to be doing. Any case like that, and say, okay, now once you have that, then you say, okay, how can we get there?
Mm-hmm.
What can we do to make this happen? And that's where that planning comes in. Now you write the plan down. Now you're both excited because you know what the goal is, and you know the plan of action. You know what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you start celebrating those little things. That's
Right.
how you get rid of that stagnation and all that we just talked about. Because
Absolutely.
you sat down and talked about what I want to do, where I want to be, or what's wrong. What's wrong in our relationship? I'm not happy. Well, what's making you unhappy? Well, this makes me happy. Okay, so if this makes you happy, let's work towards making you happy. Let's do a plan of action to make you happy.
And that's good, honey. Even though it's about something that individual wants to accomplish to be happy, but you're still working together.
Right.
You still came into agreement. You're still on one accord to work on that your spouse to help them. And that's what we're all here
Right.
for, is to be a helpmate.
Right.
It's not just the wife that's a helpmate. It's you're both a helpmate to each
Right.
other.
And once you start working on that, they're like, wow, he or she really helped me to get to where I wanted to be. And you'll start looking at them in a different light, like I said, because they helped you. They sacrificed, when I said sacrifice, they sacrificed themselves to help you so you could be happy. And now it's time to help them so they can be happy. Because once they start helping you to get to your happiness, you'll turn around and say, I appreciate you helping me and all. So now what about you?
Mm-hmm.
So then you just think of the long run. You'll both end up being happy because you both sat down and talked about what you want to do, where you want to be to get to that happy place.
That's so good.
And when you're both there, that makes for a healthy relationship or a healthy
you
marriage.
Guys, get ready for our powerful, powerful couples vision and vision casting and goal planning. And, I just want you to just take a moment to visualize if your marriage was everything you ever imagined it to be. If you and your spouse were truly on one accord like us. I just had to say that. And you're working together towards your dreams, his dreams, your dreams together, your family's legacy. Just imagine if you really work together with your spouse, what that would look like. And if you need us to help you, reach out to us and just let us know.
Right.
We're here for you. And we just want to encourage you today.
Because I just want to say that the home we're in now, Cynthia wasn't happy. She wasn't happy when I started this plan, when I put this goal, this planning for this, reach this goal in action. Where are you? You weren't happy. You didn't want to move.
No, well, yeah, it depends on what you mean by not happy.
I'm saying
I wasn't
you didn't
ready
want to
for
move.
it.
She wasn't
ready for it.
But she made that sacrifice and went along with my plan to see. Now, she's happy as ever.
Yeah, we'll change it for anything. But again, we just wanted to encourage you to really start thinking about why God put the two of you together and create a vision for the things that you can do the rest of your life in this earth, in your marriage, together and separately, and how you can support and encourage one another. And then also start writing out some goals, some things that you want to see yourself doing. Right. We have so many goals this year and in the future of what we want to accomplish. And that's the key.
If you sit down and write out some goals and then come together, then you'll make a plan on even how to reach one of those goals.
Yeah. And so we can help you. Reach out. And remember, if you build it, it will last. God bless you guys and enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
Have a great day on purpose.
Have an awesome day.